All right, welcome back to the ultimate Boca Raton, Florida map video where we're going to be going over everything you must know before you relocate you and your family down here. Because if there's a number one reason why people regret moving to Boca Raton or regret moving to South Florida in general, is going to be relocating into a neighborhood or an area that doesn't fit what they're looking for. Each of these areas are completely different unless you know exactly where you're moving into. A lot of things can look very similar online when they're actually not. They're very, very different. And then stay tuned later in the video. We're going to be discussing something that most people who, for some reason, moving down to Florida don't know they have access to. I actually gave this to one of my buyers before they made an offer on the house that they're looking at. I can't legally disclose some things, but I can give you the resource so you can actually look for yourself and your family as you're going through these homes and working to try to figure out, do you want to rent this house or buy this house? It is a tool that made my buyers actually back out of this real estate deal because they felt very uncomfortable purchasing this home. So before we start anything else, let's get a brief overview. I have my notes right here that I'm going to be using to make sure this is, again, the most comprehensive video you're going to be finding about moving to Boca Raton. So the first part is, where exactly is Boca Raton considered being? Now, if you look on this map, I just want you to get a brief overview of what each of these colors actually represent. This is from the actual Boca Raton city and the government, where they do beach passes and residencies and what they consider each part of Boca Raton actually being. A lot of people say they live in Boca Raton when actually they live in Palm Beach County. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But the blue area that you see shaded on this Google map is actually what they consider the Boca Raton city limits. And this will give you difference in, say, taxes, but also your beach pass will have different access compared to the other regions. And this extends all the way from the ocean, slightly past Interstate 95 in certain areas of central Boca as well. And then we have the yellow area that is the greater Boca Raton area and gives you very similar access to the beach passes as the city limits. Taxes and whatnot may be slightly different, and the neighborhoods are extremely different than what you'll get in most of the blue shaded area. And at the very end, you can barely see this. I don't know why the Boca Raton city decided to make their residency map for Google a green shaded area. Let me see if I can make this. There we go. So this actually made it much easier to see. But what do you consider if you were going to purchase a beach pass or declare your residency here in Boca Raton? Is that if you even live further out in West Boca, especially past the Florida Turnpike, we're going to talk a little bit more about roads here later, but this is all considered part of Palm Beach County, and it's not technically Boca Raton, so your taxes are different. Everything's different once you get past the Florida Turnpike. This is something you definitely need to know because it's going to affect, again, your taxes, your utilities. A lot of things will be different once you pass the Florida Turnpike. And if you want to buy beach passes, even in Boca Bridges, a very well-known Boca Raton neighborhood, is still part of Palm Beach County, and even these other neighborhoods up here are not considered part of the main city of Boca Raton as well, but you do get a Boca Raton address in a lot of these places. Don't worry, we're going to be talking a lot about all the different areas here in Boca Raton, so you're going to know pretty much everything you need to know about the east, the central, and west Boca Raton, the special places in each one, and what is it actually like moving out here a little bit in different neighborhoods. So don't worry, we're going to be discussing that as well. But before we do that, we need to talk a little bit more about the major roads, because once you move down here, people will use these major roads all the time, and the locals and the people who live down here for years will bring up these roads over and over. And it kind of gives you kind of like a monument or an idea of where you're actually located in the Boca Raton city. And we have a few major roads here. So most of the heavy roads in South Florida go east and west. And one of the first ones that you must know about is called Yamato Road, and this is actually a very interesting story. It was actually the road going into like a Japanese pineapple garden that used to be out here, like a little Japanese colony that they had to settle up. And they actually have a school out there now where the Japanese colony used to be. And they have a historic Japanese colony, like the buildings, bonsais, and they have Japanese arts and festivals out there as well. It's pretty interesting. But this road is located right here. And this road is, again, another east to west road. Traffic on here is not the worst. I would consider a lot of the major roads this one is not too bad. You'll find a lot of apartment complexes, a lot of gated communities on this road, a lot of schools are on this road, religious organizations are on this road as well, especially towards the central part. It'll get you almost completely to the beach area. And it's a very quick, east to west road, and you probably will be traveling on this a lot. Another road that you must know about that is very, very busy, but also very popular is going to be Glades Road. And I cannot stress that this road is going to be used very heavily down here in Boca Raton. I find myself on Glades Road pretty much every single day. If I want to do something, if I want to go somewhere, Glades is the road that you use very frequently. Now, I must also say that Glades is very busy as a road as well and can have some very complicated spots. So, if you are going to be moving down here, there's something you should be aware of is that there is this university, FAU, located right here that has a lot of college students directly next to this road in the surrounding communities over here. So it's very popular for people to go walking back and forth to school and a lot of get-togethers and whatnot in the surrounding locations. Another thing to be aware of that on this road is actually the Boca Raton Town Center, probably the best actual indoor mall here in Palm Beach County. We're going to get a little bit more into that later. And you have a lot of new construction on this road as well, such as Lotus Palm. Once you get towards Lions Road, that's where Lotus Edge is going to be located. Again, you have a lot of communities on this road. And if you realize on the map, as you go more out west, there's so much more going on in terms of neighborhoods that have to use Glades roads. And I would say in the morning, going from west to east is the worst traffic. And then later in the day, going back west is the worst. And I don't mind living if I had to live out there in West Boca. It's just you have the worst type of relationship with the sun. So as you're driving to work, if you have to, work out here in East Boca, say if you have a financial institution that you work at or a bank, and you have to travel down Glades or you're a professor and you're going to FAU, in the morning, you literally have the sun over here shining into your face the entire time on this road. And then when you go back home, you have the sun over here again at the worst time. It's always the worst because in the morning you have the sun in your face, and at night you have the sun in your face as well, just because of the location of, the sun rising, sun going down, and all the traffic on this road. And we have a particular area right here, the Glaze and 95. If you are coming into the city for the first time, this road can be extremely complicated. I don't know for what reason or where they're copying this from, but let me reverse up here so I can try to give you a detail because you need a warning of this. You are going to be in the right lane heading east, especially if you're staying off into a hotel or around the town center. You're eventually going to come over here and then go east to get on Glades to go, east. And there's an area right here around I-95, Interstate 95, that you're actually going to switch lanes and go to the opposite side of what you probably would be used to. Usually people stay on the right side, but this Glades Road, I don't know why they did this, but they make it where you have to go in the left lane, kind of thinking like oncoming traffic, and then loop back over into the east side as well. Just be aware of this is that if you're not used to traffic and some odd reason you're here late at night and there's nobody else kind of to follow, you may not be ready for this sudden switch to the left lane and then immediately coming back to the right lane. And it happens on both sides where you actually go in the opposite road and then come back. So it's something to be aware of on this Glades road. It is a an issue for sure if you're just coming down here seeing this for the first time. The next road that you need to be aware of heading east to west is Palmetto Park. So Palmetto Park is a very commonly used road here as well. And it's right over here. And this one's highly unique because you have a lot of the historic neighborhoods directly kind of off of Palmetto, and you actually have it going to the beach. If you notice the other roads kind of dead end or they go into Federal Highway, not Palmetto. Palmetto goes all the way down. So you have from the major hospital right here in West Boca, and you got your Target, Walmarts, everything here. All these neighborhoods out here are going to be using Palmetto, and they usually take Palmetto or they'll eventually go to Glades. But say if you're going to Sugar Sand Park, it's off Palmetto. If you live in one of these very commonly moved into neighborhoods, you have an Addison Meisner school district around here as well. If you don't know anything about Addison Meisner, look it up on Great Schools. It is requested a lot by people moving down here for the elementary. And you have, your big Boca Regional Hospital that they keep adding on to this hospital ever since they got bought out by Baptist Health. They're adding a lot to this hospital. So it's growing and growing. A lot of your healthcare, again, is going to be located around this hospital as well. But you have, your Meisner Park. This is our downtown type of areas off of Palmetto. And you're going to take this road all the way to the beach. So it's a highly used road. It's never too congested. Again, most people are going to be going to Glades to actually drive east to west in Boca Raton. Somehow they usually go to Glades in general. Palmetto Park is usually not too bad unless you're traveling around the part between the beach and kind of right in here. So let me erase some of this. So some part right where this area is here and the beach area, this part, if you had to travel this, it can get very congested. You have so many people going to like Meisner Park, going to like the train station, and you have like this bridge that will go up every about 30 minutes. So you have something that's causing like kind of like a barricade and a lot of people go into the downtown area right in here. It just causes a lot of congestion. So if you're going to be living here and you have to like drive over here, just be aware of that as well. Now, the other major road that will be brought up all the time is A1A. And now this is kind of where all the beaches are located and a lot of fancy real estate is located as well. It's that road that goes right along the ocean. Now, people will call this, South Ocean Boulevard, A1A. And there's some really nice properties out here, especially on the water. There's a lot of condos. A lot of them are getting special assessments right now. But this road is generally a very not too bad, but you notice a lot of people will be running on the side, a lot of bikers on this road. I would never say traffic is ever too bad in this part of Boca Raton. Now, if you go further south in Florida, this road becomes quite busy. But in Boca Raton, we're quite fortunate. It's never too bad. And this is the area you're going to find a lot of beach properties. Now, going back to the roads that you must also know as well. There's this road here, and if you're coming from the northeast, it's going to be a road that you probably have up there as well. It's going to be US Highway 1. We call it Federal Highway down here. So it's right over here. And this is where you're going to get a lot of interesting things with real estate. So what you'll notice, there's a lot of expensive real estate in here because it's kind of right on the water. And then once you get past this other road that's also very common down here, Dixie Highway, there's this little area here. People have different words for this area, but I would just call this the area between Dixie Highway and Federal Highway. It is a very different area than this area. So it's a very different area over in this area rather than this area. The homes over here tend to be very, very expensive, right on the water. And the homes over here, they're up and coming. A lot of flips, a lot of remodels, a lot of people buying homes in this area. And they're redoing them. A lot of them have been completely redone. Now, something you have to watch out for this area. We're going to get a little bit more into this later in the video about what you need to watch out for each area. You have to watch out for plumbing here. So plumbing is usually a major issue because these homes are older. A lot of people they'll fix the windows and most of the doors, but they leave out the glass sliders. And when you get your hurricane quote, they'll actually come out with your inspector and they do like this 4-point inspection and they look at the home and stuff, and they'll actually like look at the home and they're like, okay, you have hurricane impact windows. That's what you're going to see online. That's what the listing agent wants you to know. But they don't actually replace a lot of the glass sliding doors. And unless you have the glass sliding doors replaced as well, you don't get that full hurricane impact window discount. And this affects a lot of buyers and they just get some kind of off guarded. A lot of flips in here, a lot of remodels, they just don't have the sliding doors replaced. If they do, that's a good indication that it'll win a little bit more than a lot of the other people try to sell you in this part. Now, another area that you must be aware of here in Boca Raton is I-95. So I-95, Interstate 95, is right over here. Let's change up the color a little bit. Let's do some pink. And this will go kind of from the East Boca down into Central Boca. Now, this road is great. Say if you have to travel, I know a lot of people reach out to me. They're like, "Hey, I want to live in Boca Raton because I heard like this is great or this is great, but I live here in, well, I work in Aventura, Florida, down further in South Florida, and I want to know how's the traffic like." Now, in Boca Raton portion, this I-95 is very easy to get access to. In our part of South Florida, you're going to have access to something called the express lane, and it's definitely worth it. If you have an EV, you can get a pass to use the express lane for free as much as you want to with your electrical vehicles. So if you have a Tesla or again another EV or you have a carpool, I can definitely go over that with you as well, how to register everything. Definitely highly recommend the express lane. It never gets too bad in the Boca Raton portion. And it's very fortunate that you can use this express lane to go all the way to South Florida. I would say, Miami's probably about a 55-minute drive from the heart of Boca Raton. If you had to go, say, to West Palm Beach, it's again another like 50 minutes or so, not too far. I drive a lot recently to Palm Beach Gardens to the Avenir, and that's about a 45-minute drive going up, but it's about a 50 so minute drive coming down just due to like the normal traffic so where people are going. It's never too bad, but something to consider is that you're buying a home next to this I-95. All these homes can be quite loud, and that's something you need to be aware of. If you're looking at homes directly around the I-95, it can be an issue with sound, especially some of these neighborhoods. They don't have like any type of sound barrier or soundproofing. So you're going to be living here listening to this road constantly. It never stops. I-95 is very busy and some people just don't like it. So there's definitely some homes for sale currently that are going to be right up against this I-95, and it's usually not, if you're looking for a peaceful environment, it's not the road you want to be directly next to. And also there's a hidden secret about I-95 that we're going to go in later in the video. So stay tuned to that because if you're worried about some insurance issues, there's something you need to know about the areas directly around I-95. There's something definitely in common with the areas around it. We're going to be talking about that in a little bit. Now, the next road that you must know about before you move down here is going to be Military Trail. This goes all the way in South Florida in general, this military trail right here. And I must say, it is the easiest north and south road that I've traveled on in Boca Raton. The only problem with this road, Like the only problem I ever really run into with military trail is right up here when you get closer to Yamato and military. This right side of the road, particularly this side right here next to this nature reserve, it just always floods. So a lot of cars will get stuck here, have issues during heavy rains. And but overall, there's a lot of restaurants, things directly off this military trail, and it just makes everything easy to travel in Boca Raton. And I found that if you have to go to like say Boynton or any other part of Palm Beach County, this military trail will actually go all the way up, and I never find the ride too bad. Sometimes I-95 can be stressful, especially when the express lanes in past like Delray. Or when you go further in Deerfield, we can talk about that in another video. But the military trail just kind of makes everything simpler when you're traveling. The next road that you must know about in Boca Raton is the Florida Turnpike. So there's two major roads that you'll be used to travel in going north in South Florida. And one of them is I-95. The other one is the Florida Turnpike. Now, this is a very particular area and something you need to be aware of for two major reasons. So the first reason is that there's a lot of new neighborhoods being built right along the Florida Turnpike, and there's a lot of homes for sale near the Florida Turnpike. The thing to know about the Florida Turnpike is that it's loud. So I don't know how else to say this, but if you need to go and see if you're okay with the noise outside the house, so when you tour the homes, especially the newer homes right here, you really can't hear too much inside the home. It's not too bad. If you go outside your home and you're trying to go like in your backyard, the homes here can be a very noisy. It's as if you're right next to a major road that never ends. So it's something to take in consideration. Do I find the Florida Turnpike or Interstate 95 to be quicker going to Miami or West Palm? To West Palm, I-95 is easier. If you're going Palm Beach Gardens, Florida Turnpike is easier. So depends on where you're going in South Florida. If you had to get to say Miami or further south, Aventura. Sometimes I do find because I live in the central Boca location, so I have access. That's one of the benefits of central Boca is being able to choose. Do I want the Florida Turnpike or I-95? And if it's rush hour, the Florida Turnpike every day can get you quicker to South Florida, into Fort Lauderdale, into say Aventura, into Miami if you have to work down there for work way quicker than I-95 because all the traffic, if there's a wreck and it spirals into the express lane, it's going to back up everything. So if you live closer to both, say Central Boca or even West Boca, will give you the benefit of the Florida Turnpike, and you can have access to North and South Florida very easily, going pretty quick. Again, you need a Sun Pass or you'll pay to use this road. The EV trick doesn't work for the Florida Turnpike as it does I-95, but at certain times, there's definitely a benefit of using the Florida Turnpike. Now, the last road that you need to know about is 441. And this is like the hard cutoff. So we're going to get into what's East, Central, and West Boca. But pretty much everybody agrees that anything past 441 is definitely West Boca. It's not Central Boca, it's West Boca. And what you'll find out is that 441, I find it to be very busy, and in areas it can flood a lot as well. And if you live in East Boca and you have to go to, say, a 24-hour pharmacy that's located in 441, say from East Boca, you're looking at a good, 20 plus minutes to get from East Boca to 441 and deal with the traffic on here going north and south. So it's something to take consideration that once we're getting past 441, and if you're driving from East Boca, it's getting a little bit more of a drive. So as long as you're okay with 20 to 30 minutes of a drive, you're fine. But if you are like the type of person like I want to be 10 minutes from everything I need in East Boca, if that's, the vibe that you're looking for, this is when you're going to start having issues of, what you're looking for when you're traveling, east and west. And this is kind of the cutoff line where people will start having issues just from the travel time in general. But this is the road that's going to go north and south. And it kind of makes that last barrier going into West Boca. And we're going to be talking about what's exactly out here because it's going to be very, very different here. So we'll call this B versus A. And if you're looking at the extremes in Boca Raton, these are the two extremes, A and B, West Boca and Far East Boca. The entire environment is completely different. And especially if you're coming from a larger city, this is going to be very important about where you're looking on living because it's going to be a drastic change. Now, let's start talking about where's East Boca, Central Boca, and West Boca because people are going to be talking about this. Once you move down here, they're gonna make, hey, do you live in East Boca, Central Boca, West Boca? And in general, East Boca is going to be everything to the east of I-95. So most people consider anything to the east of I-95 to be East Boca. Now, everything that's to the west of I-95, kind of right next to the Florida Turnpike, right here, is going to be Central Boca. And then everything else, people disagree about 441 being the cutoff, but pretty much everything out here would be West Boca. Now let's talk about what's in each one of these so you get a better idea of what could be a better fit for you and your family. So let's start all the way in East Boca and let's talk a little bit. Let me clear this off here. So starting from East Boca, just to get a general idea, at the very far east, we have the beach, obviously. There's a dog park. I don't have a dog. I don't bring dogs here, but a lot of people enjoy this dog park. You can see, it has a 5-star review, 4.3 out of 200 and something people who went there. Now, you would need to live in East Boca, the city limits of Boca, or the greater limits to get the beach pass for the dog park all included. Another highlight of East Boca out here by the beach area is Gumbo Limbo. So this place is actually incredible. So if you have kids and you want to take them to like a place where they have sea turtles and a lookout tower and like a nature park that has like a walking trail that they can see animals on and nature. This is a highlight of the beach area. Now, parking out here is completely free. It can get very crowded on weekends out here, but it's something to definitely look forward to. The Lookout Towers is actually fairly nice. I definitely enjoy it. My daughter likes running up and back and forth, going all the way to the top. It's a very nice area. Red Reef Park, again, another 5-star area here in Boca Raton. It's probably the best beach for somebody like me who likes peace and quiet. There's no restaurants out here. There's nothing else really out here besides just the beach. It's a really nice beach area to take your kids. There's never too packed, even on holidays. If you want to just visit this place, say on the weekend, and you didn't live here in Boca Raton and have like the beach pass that you have to sign up for, it can cost up to over $55 a single visit for you. So most people who come to this beach are locals. It's not much of a tourist spot. I definitely enjoy that. Now, if you're into golfing, there's this nice little golf course out here. A lot of people will park right over here, or just park here and go and play some games of golf. It's a nice small little golf course right there on the water. Now, if you look to the west, right there, this entire neighborhood here is fairly nice. This is the type of area where you're getting a lot of homes being torn down now, and a lot of very modern mansions are being developed for multiple millions of dollars in this part of Boca Raton. Now, the most of the restaurants are going to be located right here on Palmetto Road. Again, there's some nice little areas here. This one has a nice, what is it called? Icia bowl. You can grab an Icia bowl and head to the beach. It makes a perfect combination there. Now, something to know about if you're looking to spend some serious coin here in Boca, this is a nice area to the south of Palmetto, but pretty much all of it is in a flood zone that's going to get flooded a lot during major events. You probably want to evacuate. So something to know about there. If you're looking for a place that attracts a lot of like college kids and younger people and more tourists, because something about East Boca is that there's a lot more snowbirds here and tourists in the east part with all the condos and their rentals out here. South Beach Park tends to be a lot more full of, younger people and, college students. So if that's the type of vibe you're looking for, the South Beach Park may be for you. Parking's right here, and this gets filled pretty quick. That's why it's best just get the parking pass for residents, and you'll just park over here. And parking's super simple if you are a resident. Now, another area here in East Boca is gonna be the Wildflower Park. Again, it's another five-star park out here. You can actually go out here. I like taking my daughter. We get like a pizza from our favorite pizza restaurant. We'll sit out here and watch the bridge open up. This is the bridge area. I have a lot of drone footage from here. It's a very nice, relaxed area. It attracts a lot of families out here. There's a lot of people who visit Boca Raton and they don't have the beach pass, and they end up parking right here in this actual parking spot. They have a security guard out here. It's only supposed to be for 2 hours, and people will park here and they immediately walk across this bridge to the beach. Just to be aware of that. Again, there's a lot of restaurants right along this Palmetto Park. This is kind of getting towards our downtown area. The density on here on businesses, organizations, of restaurants again, it's pretty heavy. So if you're looking for a place that is just full of things to do, restaurants, things that you're walkable to, this area right here is incredible. This part of Palmetto Park going right into Meisner Park. This is our like downtown outdoor shopping plaza for some high-end shopping or restaurants. It does have like the main movie theater in Boca, the iPic theaters. I enjoy just bringing my daughter and walking right here in Meisner Park, especially on weekends. They'll have like people playing violins, a lot of kids and families just kind of walking around. Now there is like this bicycle gang of like high school kids who ride their bicycle through here and do wheelies. There's Max's Grill that's always very, very popular for people visiting here. And that's just one of the highlights of the downtown area. There's the Boca Raton Golf Club. Again, this thing is very loved by a lot of people who love golf and high-end luxury. The Boca Raton Resort is right here. And generally just a lot of nice restaurants are located right here in East Boca. And this is, the highest density of them. And again, you have a lot of parks. You have the Lake Wyman Park. I have videos walking on the boardwalk there. A lot of people do kayaking. And the entire area is just kind of like scattered with parks pretty much everywhere. So if you keep zooming in, you'll eventually see more and more parks. There's this other great area, the Hillsborough Park. It's right here. If you're into pickleball, this is a great place to actually meet new people. So they have like a free play, and especially on weekends, it's very busy, full of people playing pickleball, and meeting one another. So if you need help finding a spot to meet people, this is a great area. And if you're a dad like me, the playground here is actually, there's a lot of dads that go out here. So you can always talk to the other dads who are standing by watching their kid hang upside down and stuff. I've never seen the volleyball two-pack, but tennis and pickleball are very, very busy here at this Hillsborough Park. I think I should talk a little bit about the neighborhood. So anything right here, if some of the most expensive real estate in Boca Raton is right here. I love walking through here. It looks like a gated community. It's not. The HOA is not as expensive as it is in West Boca, surprisingly. This is like the Boca Yacht Club, and it's just a nice little community. They're tearing down a lot of the older mansions and they're building like these $22 million places now. So it's a very interesting area. The homes out here are absolutely beautiful. If you're looking for a mansion, this is kind of the place you would be looking for. The area right here. So if you ever want to know if I'm ever doing a video and it looks like there's an older area with new homes being just put in everywhere, It's this area right here. It's called the Golden Triangle. Now, the vibe over here is very interesting. So you get a lot of people who lived there for years. Like, got to remember, like before the pandemic, a lot of these homes were only like $300,000 to $500,000, and now it's not uncommon to have like a $6 million house. And this is just creating people with different hobbies. So the neighborhood is changing. So it's something just to be aware of. There's never a stark difference in people who live there for years versus new people. In Boca Raton, besides this area right here, the amount of investments is absolutely insane. But it's the most walkable area in Boca Raton. So I get asked sometimes, like, is Boca Raton have anybody like anywhere walkable? And it would be in this area. You could literally walk to the beach. I mean, you have less than a 10-minute walk, and you could walk to our downtown area, all the restaurants within like this is like the perfect place in Boca Raton. And it's why people are tearing down the old homes and moving here because it's the only major walkable area to a downtown and a beach in Boca Raton. And it's a very, very nice area. If I had the money, I would love to move out here as well and buy a $6 million home. It's just right now, the prices are absolutely insane. And again, another area that we talked briefly about is going to be this area between Dixie Highway and Federal Highway. So there is some train tracks that go along Dixie Highway here that can be quite noisy, and that might be an issue for some people. It's just something to be aware of. But if you're looking for a home that is, located to some restaurants, I mean, family-owned restaurants, like this deli right here is absolutely amazing. We have over 1,000 reviews for 5 stars for an Italian deli. It is absolutely amazing. It's one of probably the best delis here in South Florida. And if you live here, you can walk to quite a few restaurants and some parks. So it is a interesting little area that you can walk up, and you can walk to the beach right across Spanish River Boulevard. There's a little walking path right over here. So it is something to be aware of that this is a neighborhood. I had an entire video of the next best area to move into in Boca Raton. If you're looking for investment property, remember this is the Golden Triangle right here. And then directly across the street is that area that I was talking about that has potential of, possibly appreciating in the future because it's directly adjacent to the area with the heaviest investments in Boca Raton currently. And it's completely overlooked by even locals. Locals will say, like, yeah, I'm not going to move there for some reason, but it's a very interesting area that has a lot of development coming to it. And again, there's this area right over here, the FAU universities right here. So again, this is a very heavily college vibe right in here. So if you're looking for your student, you want to be right next to the university. There's a lot of university students right over here. So it's something to be aware of. If you are looking for a hospital in East Boca, the Boca Regional Hospital is located right here. And not just the hospital, I must say, like, a lot of clinics are located here, a lot of specialty clinics. I know some people who are like in their 30s and 40s are looking for like fertility clinics or dentist offices, and this entire area is just absolutely filled with those specialty clinics as well. So it's not just this Baptist Health over here. It's pretty much any healthcare related thing is located right here as well. And right below Palmetto Park Boulevard, remember this is one of the key roads that we were talking about. Right below there is one of the key roads that we're talking about right here. So right below Palmetto Park Boulevard are some of the older neighborhoods. Again, each of these neighborhoods are slightly different. You have like Boca Square, Royal Oaks, Camino Gardens. Now, the Camino Gardens used to be like a safari, outdoor safari back in the day. So don't be surprised if you dig in your yard and you find a an elephant bone. Something that's unique about this neighborhood is that all the roofs have like these white roofs, and the HOA won't allow you to change it. So if you're looking for a roof color, it's fine as long as it's white. But this will give you a general idea of like what is this neighborhood actually like. So for an older neighborhood, I would enjoy it. There is some slight flood zones in here that we're going to talk about later if you live right on the water. A pretty neighborhood. It's walkable. It has, the sidewalks everywhere, and it has some healthcare destinations that you can get to as well. So it's something to take into account. Well, that I should probably show you the Meisner Park as well. So you probably saw in a lot of videos, Meisner Park. It's a very nice area. A lot of shopping in here. Very clean, not too bad. Very beautiful area. And you got people taking photos. Maybe they're doing a YouTube video. But very nice area. Back in here at the very back of Meisner Park is actually going to be where they do events, festivals. Like once a month, you're going to get like a festival in here. It looks like they're actually just doing a festival. We were out there for like a strawberry one. We're going to be going out there for Halloween. They have like a pumpkin patch out there as well. But this is where they do a lot of festivals. And again, a lot of these neighborhoods in here are old, but they're very desirable for a lot of people because of the school zones. You have Sugar Sand Park, probably the largest park in Palm Beach County. Almost 3,000 reviews at a 5 stars. This is where you take your kid out for like a splash pad. They have tons of things for the kids to do out here. It's absolutely insane the size of this park. The only thing I don't like about the park is that it's just so big that your kid will go up here and like I feel like you'll lose your kid. So the playground is absolutely huge and it has like this fort where the kids can go up and they can play through everything. It's like this big thing right here, and your kid will just run way up here, and they're going down all these different alleys, and they got all these different slides. And I feel like you could just easily lose your kid in here. It just keeps going and going. They do have like a butterfly play area, a carousel that, is taking all your money. They have your baseball courts and everything in that nature as well. I have some drone footage out here. It's a very, nice area, nice park. I know when we meet a lot of other parents, we usually, for the first time, we take our kids together at Sugar Sand, see how they play together. And the Hillsborough Park as well is a great place for your kids to meet, other kids. And right out here, we have the Costco with the cheapest gas in Boca Raton. All their gas in Boca Raton is quite expensive. It's like additional dollar or so per gallon. So if gas prices are anything you're worried about or considering, Costco is the best one for that. And that kind of wraps up. We have the Boca Raton airport. If you fly private or have your own plane, there is that as well. And that kind of wraps up, things that you need to know of about East Boca. Most people in East Boca, they kind of enjoy more of the urban style environment, a lot of restaurants next by, a lot of things moving, a lot of things are there. You don't have to drive too far. I would say pretty much anywhere in East Boca, you're probably about 5 to 10 minutes away from the beach. You're very close to a hospital. Pretty much everything you need in the city fire department, everything is located right in there. There's multiple libraries, anything you possibly want. If you're coming from a major city, East Boca has it. Besides the Boca Town Center Mall, and the Sugar Stand is actually kind of in the Central Boca. We're about to get to that right now. So Central Boca is where things drastically change. So in East Boca, a lot of the neighborhoods are older. You rarely get any type of HOA. In Central Boca is when you're starting in the gated communities, country clubs, HOAs. And it's just something, the nature of the game here. If you're looking to move into Central Boca, Sugar Sand Park again is amazing. There's Parkside, that neighborhood is a very nice gated community, $1 to $2 million homes. The entire area in here is, off and on. They have golf course communities in here mixed in with small gated neighborhoods that have, say 50 homes, but they're gated. But something you must know is that a lot of these homes is it's when you're going to start getting just neighborhood after neighborhood. And if you realize East Boca, you got these neighborhoods, but you have these roads just kind of like full of businesses, especially as you go east. And as you go out here, you just have that suburbia feel. Like it's starting to feel more suburbia. You have the Boca Town Center Mall. Again, whatever you need for shopping, you can get at the Boca Town Center Mall. They have pretty much anything you need. Looks like here you got 10,000 reviews at 5 stars. It's a very clean, neat area. Overall, most of Boca Raton is manicured, very clean. But Central Boca, you just get a little bit more of that halfway vibe where you're halfway east, halfway west. The schools, look up on great schools. There's quite a few private schools here in Central Boca. There's a lot of money in Central Boca as well, especially with the country clubs and whatnot. Especially Woodfield is very nice. A lot of people, everybody who I know who lives in Woodfield absolutely love Woodfield Country Club. So if you're looking for a country club, you might want to consider Woodfield. It is a nice country club here. Again, there's probably people who don't like living here, but every person I've spoken to who lives here enjoys living here. And again, you're probably about 15, 20 minutes away from the beach. And you got some restaurants. It's not dense with restaurants like East Boca, but you got like Vinny's Cafe. It went viral on social media recently. And it's a locals favorite here, Vinny's Cafe. And you have, a little theater, you got things to do. You have oh, Patch Reef Park is right there off the road. So we're actually going there for like a pre-Halloween party. This is the place where they give out like, a lot of free trees, bushes, do community events. Is right here in Central Boca. And right across from there, like again, you have tennis courts available. A lot of neighborhoods are located here as well. But again, Woodfield is great. Broken Sound Club is different again than Woodfield. So definitely make sure you check out both because they're very different to me, and the people who live there and enjoy them are different. And then St. Andrews, I call this the St. Andrews corridor because all these neighborhoods are so similar. So once you get past Glades is right here in the Boca Town Center Mall, and all these neighborhoods kind of in this atmosphere are very similar. If you're looking for some beautiful neighborhoods, Colonnade is very beautiful. Old Floresta is right here, or not Old Floresta, New Floresta is right here, right next to the Pinecrest Private School. You can literally just walk your kid across the street. This is Boca Madre. It is slightly more affordable than the other places. But Colonnade, New Floresta, and Mill Pond are all really interesting neighborhoods. They're different than most of everywhere else in Boca Raton because they have tree-lined sidewalks. They really want these neighborhoods to kind of look up where they're kind of like coming from the Northeast or outside of South Florida. So they're very different, and the vibes here are completely different than some of the other neighborhoods as well. Now, there is this Pond Park nature area. You can walk through here. I walk through here occasionally, but there's a lot of people who enjoy coming out here. It's attached to this Spanish River Library. Now, this library is very helpful. It's a very beautiful area. And I love coming out here just to get some fresh air and think about these video ideas. And if you want to cross the street, this is where they do the fireworks. And so once you cross the street, you're probably going to park somewhere over here and you cross the street and the fireworks will be done right here. So your best place to actually sit down is right along this water area. So there's going to be a lot of vendors and stuff out here in this area, but this area right here, it's perfect. All the vendors will be here, and tons of people will sit right here. But they shoot the fireworks off like right here. And this area is just so simple because when they're done, you can quickly cross the street. If you didn't know anything about this area, they're gonna block off these roads, so you won't even be able to drive here. You have to like park over here and walk. If you sit here, you can easily get out first and then walk back to your car and get out before the rush. So just a heads up for this area. I'm trying to give you as many tips as possible before you move down here and you're trying to navigate this city for the first time. Now, the people who would enjoy living in Central Boca are going to be the people who like a little bit of suburbia, don't want to be more than 20, 30 minutes away from the beach. For the most part, you're about 15 minutes from most places in Central Boca. Besides, when you get a little bit higher up to the country clubs out here, you're probably going to be closer to 20 minutes to the beach. You have access to a lot of great parks. A lot of pretty much everything out here is very well manicured. A lot of things are very clean, neat, organized. You have the Boca Town Center Mall. That's a great place to go do some indoor shopping because it rains pretty much every day here around noon. And it's a very active mall. It's not a mall that's dying just in case you're worried about that. There's a lot of parks for the kids to go play at, and other parks if you want to travel, say Hillsborough Park. Even in Central Boca, it's probably like again another 10-15 minute drive away. And in Central Boca, you have access to the Florida Turnpike and I-95 very close by. It's equal distance, less than 10 minutes both ways. You're on the highway and you're gone. The busiest road in here is going to be Glades. It's just something to be aware of. Glades can be quite busy in here, as mentioned before. Now, finally, we're getting to West Boca. And we're going to be talking about a few things here, not as much as the other, but there's a few things you must know. There is the Lotus neighborhoods in here that are completely brand new. So if you're looking for new construction in Boca Raton and you're not buying a one-off 4 million, $6 million home, you're probably going to be looking past to the left of the Florida Turnpike into West Boca. Now, you still get the beach access to the South Beach. A lot of people prefer that one, especially a little bit younger people. It's still a very beautiful area. You do get a lot of golf courses out here. You have your Best Buy, TJ Maxx, Walmart, Target, Home Depot, Lowe's, those type major big box retail people. They're not in Central or East Boca. So if you want more of a commercialized, the businesses are in more commercialized big box stores, you're going to be driving out here to West Boca. We find ourselves as a family, we go a lot towards Delray. So Delray is another area that has, TJ Maxx, Home Depot, Lowe's, those type of stores just directly above us. So Delray is not too far from Central Boca, probably about, again, 15-minute drive. If you live in West Boca, you'd be directly located to these type of establishments as well. Again, a lot of the neighborhoods out here, either they're brand new or they're much newer than Central and Eastern Boca. It's just something to be aware of that this part of Boca is very interesting. So it was like practically all farmland, and now all these newer homes are being built out here, completely changing this West Boca area. So if you're looking for new construction, you would be coming out here. And this is where, Lotus Palm is located, and Lotus Edge will be right out here. Now, if you're going to be living right here in Lotus Edge, you're directly next to the stadium area of a high school, and they're going to be putting a wall up here, but how much noise are they going to be taking out? So, location is key on Lotus Edge. If you need any more information about Lotus Edge, you don't want to be put in the wrong spot, so definitely reach out to me. We can definitely help to make sure you're in a good location here. But as you can see, all of this farmland is getting converted over to a brand new neighborhood called Lotus Edge. But this neighborhood is brand new. It's very beautiful. The HOA is not too bad compared to some of the older neighborhoods that you don't get as many amenities. Lotus Edge will have the largest clubhouse of any of the new construction Lotus projects out here. And if you need to know more information about, the Lotus projects, I have a few videos on my channel already exploring Lotus Palm. So you get a general idea of what it looks like inside of the models. Now, there's some other very active communities. An area that I find myself going a lot, with all the other fathers I met and I hang out with. There's a lot of birthday parties I go to in Mission Bay. So a lot of people have, birthday parties. That's one way of meeting people down here in Boca Raton. And for some odd reason, all the kids I meet at parks, most of them tend to, a lot of them live in Mission Bay. So we go out here quite a bit for birthday parties. Another place that we go for little get-togethers, out here is going to be this water park. So this is very unique. So everywhere else in East and Central Boca, they usually have like a little bit smaller parks. This park out here in West Boca is absolutely huge. Like they have an amphitheater, but the highlight of this one for us is the water park. I have some video out here of the water park. It has this lazy river. It's not too big. It's never too busy. It just makes a really good day to hang out with other parents and have the kids just play out here. But just to give you a general idea of what the area looks like, let's take a look at what this area of Glades in 441 looks like. Let's see out here. Can we see? It doesn't want us to see what it looks like. Now, just to see the area, let's see what Glades in 441 looks like. We're going to go out here, drag a little guy down. This is what you're going to be dealing with out here on Glades in 441. You have, not much traffic here, but it's a very large road. During rush hour, there can be, some traffic, depends on where you're coming from, but this is probably one of the busier intersections out here in Boca Raton, this road right here. But right next to it, you're gonna have a lot of the big box stores. Pretty much everything you need is kind of in this area. Let me get back here. Now there is a West Boca Medical Center right here. If you need help like finding a pediatrician, there's quite a few in this facility as well that takes kids fairly quickly. So I know a lot of people that even live in Central and East Boca have come out here because it's easier to schedule your doctor visits, pediatrician visits. Out here at the West Boca Medical Center, I'm not for sure why, but the ones out here tend to be very packed, and it might be something with the amount of snowbirds that just keep people kind of like on hold out there, so they stop taking new customers or new patients. West Boca might be a little bit easier for you. Now, another area is out here is like Boca Wind. So this neighborhood's a little bit older, even though it's the one of the furthest east neighborhoods out here in Boca Raton. Now, something to know about this neighborhood is that you're right next to this nature preserve. I know listing agents like to say like it's a preserve. I like to just think of like all this is being swampland and I mean you're practically right next to swamp monster airboat tours, and this is where you find pretty much the Everglades to me, but people like to say this is just a preserve. I find that mosquitoes are a little bit worse out here in far west Boca because you're literally right next to this massive swamp area. So everything here is considered the Everglades, a massive swamp, and you are literally the closest possible kind of right here. So if you do have a pool, I definitely recommend a screened in backyard to keep the bugs off of you. The breeze is a little bit less. I find during the summer it's hotter out here. I know this can be debated, but I do find that the western part of Palm Beach County just to be a little bit hotter than the east and central part. And there's just less of a breeze. I feel like the bugs are more, but it's not the end of the world. You just have to adapt. It's a little bit different than the other part. Now, another interesting area. So if you see here, like these neighborhoods, it's pretty dense. Pretty much everything's kind of uniform. So this is like an HOA style of environment. You can look at the homes here. Everything's kind of uniformed and clean and manicured. And there's other areas. Then you have like this particular area here. Definitely take a look at it. Drive through here. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I found this property here. It's cheaper than other ones, and then they drive through. I just want you to be aware that this area is just a little bit different. I think Google Maps is a great way to explore neighborhoods just to see kind of what everything is like. But this is not the reason why somebody backed out of their real estate deal. We're going to be talking about that in a bit, but it's just something to be aware of that this particular area here is a little bit different with, and the corporate world, we call it CNO, clean, neat, organized. I don't know if this is because of the HOA or what's going on, but it's just a little bit different. Now, they are trying to redo this area right here. They have like these townhome communities. You can get some really good deals on these actually. So I know a lot of people who are interested in moving. They're looking for the most affordable areas here in Boca Raton. They want to be in West Boca. They like the suburbia type feel, and they're looking for a bargain. And this might be an area that is a little bit more of a bargain. So let's see. No, we can't drop the guy on here, but this particular area is, new townhomes that they're building currently, and there is some interest in here, and maybe they'll just keep going with that. But there is, some gyms and whatnot here as well. Now, if you're looking for healthcare in general, I just want to highlight this for you. So as we go further out from the map, I call this the triangle. So the healthcare triangle is practically Wonder if I can get all three in the map. So you have the Boca Regional Hospital, West Boca Hospital. So then right into Delray is actually another hospital. Right when you get on military, let me see where it's at here. It's right here. So right when you leave Boca Raton, it's right here. You have basically a triangle of these hospitals. So if you need health service, if you need a surgery, anything you need for your family, your health services are right here. Again, there's a lot of doctor's offices spread amongst the entire Boca Raton area, like little mom and pop store, or not mom and pop stores, but like a family-owned doctor's office. There's a lot of them out here in Boca Raton. So if you're worried about healthcare, it can be hard to make an appointment because a lot of doctor offices are full, but there's no shortage of major hospitals out here around the Boca Raton area. Now we're going to be actually be talking about something that I think a lot of people don't realize about moving out here in Boca Raton. It's going to be the flood zones. So, just for a brief overview about what each one means, because I feel like this is an important topic, especially after all these hurricanes. We recently just got hit by Hurricane Milton out here in South Florida. And I think it's good to just know a general idea. Boca Raton goes above and beyond to making sure they're ready for hurricanes, and they provide us with an actual flood map from the city of Boca Raton. Again, you're not going to see West Boca because they're not part of the city limits of Boca Raton. But let's go through this key. So anything in red, you're going to have a special flood hazard that's actually subjected to coastal high hazard flooding. This means like you actually have waves coming in from the ocean into your property. The green areas are like where there's going to be like some flooding, but you don't have like an exact baseline of how bad is it going to be. AE, that baby blue, is going to be where there's a baseline flood level, but like, is it 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 20 foot? You know exactly what it is. AH just means shallow flooding. And this is where things are interesting. So it could be probably right around 3 feet. It's like a puddling of water. And that's what that AH is, that dark purple blue color. The yellow is going to be the 0.2%. So it doesn't mean that you're completely free from flooding, but you can have a 1 in 500 year chance or whatever of a flood. And then you have flood zone X, where you're not required to have a FEMA flood insurance plan. But you could still get flooded. And this is a point where you need to make a decision to have flood insurance or not. Now, if you're in flood zone X, it's not that expensive to get flood insurance. It might be recommended based on what's around the house and history of flooding in general. So if you live next to a waterway, a new development neighborhood, you might consider getting flood insurance because the flood patterns have changed and it might be something you should watch out for. So here's something I want to go over with the flood map. Now, as we look at this, the only area in Boca Raton that you would have those major flood events that you see on TV with the waves coming in and washing everything away, is going to be right along the coast. So Boca Raton's elevated enough to not to have major flooding from the actual ocean coming in and washing everything away, according to this map. Now, there's some areas, what I mentioned before, that Palmetto Park. Remember, it's always important to know the major roads here in Boca Raton. That really nice area below Palmetto Park Boulevard, going into the beach area, it's going to be underneath, 3 feet of water. If you're spending a lot of money on your house, you better make sure it's elevated, or all that luxury furniture, everything you're looking at purchasing, is going to be absolutely destroyed. Now, if you look at all these fingers to the right of Federal Highway, they will say that a lot of these are in these yellow areas, and there's some in the blue area where there's going to be some flooding. I project as we move forward, a lot of these little fingers going out into the ocean are way more in the flooded areas than they are in this yellow area. It's not uncommon during the heavy rains events in the past few years to see some of these roads actually submerge and people walking in water in these little fingers going out into this intercoastal. Something to be aware of. Another thing that I see coming, so if you notice the Golden Triangle, most of it is high ground. There's not any major flooding there. And there's no major flooding around the area that I told people might be the next area in Boca Raton. This area is elevated higher than the surrounding areas, so it's something to be aware of. And then going further in the south part of East Boca Raton, Camino Gardens, some of those homes may get flooded. They're right on the water. But most of the neighborhoods in here is not too bad. There's certain areas, the streets. That's why if you don't know what you're doing and you can rely on these maps, but it's why it's always best to work with somebody who knows the area quite well because it could just be that you just buy the house in a neighborhood that doesn't flood, but your house is right here. Like you have the house that may flood. And this is why it's really important. You may actually be in flood zone X, but you are in, even Boca Raton knows that you're in a low lying area. That's why it's kind of hard just moving to a new city without having anybody to help and guide you along the way. Boca Raton's great, but there are some things to watch out for. And I always say this old Floresta area that so many people moving to right now has so many red flags in terms of where you have to watch out for with flood zone and see if that's the route you want to go. This is also where the hospital is. So if you're planning on living right next to the hospital, there's a lot of flood zones there. Anything pretty much around I-95 floods off to the side of it. So if you see here in this map, if you follow I-95, you're basically following the flood zones. You are literally following the flood zones all the way over. The neighborhood is directly over across from I-95. If you're hearing the noise from the road, your house may flood. So it's something to definitely look into if you just literally follow I-95. The areas off to it have a lot more trouble with flooding than the areas further away on both sides. Now, if you notice, like even here, like this neighborhood here, there's a lot of issues with flooding on certain streets and parts of streets, and they're pretty much all in flood zone X. So it's something just to be aware of. You don't want to mess with flood zones unless you are prepared and you're ready for the consequences. Flood zones are something you should always wonder and worry about at times. And as we go further and further into Boca Raton, everything kind of dies off. But I mean, you can tell like this neighborhood here to the right next to I-95, it can flood. To the left up here, it doesn't flood at all. So it's kind of like, where do you want to be in this neighborhood? What homes are going to hold value the longest if you're worried about, flood damage? Now, before we move on anything else, people always want to debate about HOAs. Now, HOAs in Boca Raton can have their pros and cons quickly. The HOAs can make everything look very similar. So there's this neighborhood right here, the Camino Gardens, right? And there's a house that I walk next to a lot or just drive by it. So all these homes have this beautiful white roof. Everything's clean, neat, and organized in this neighborhood right here, right? So everything looks great. Now, when we leave this neighborhood, you're going to see what happens when you leave an HOA. And I always find, I mean, I think people could do whatever they want with the houses. I just think this is very interesting as a home. Where is it? Wow. So you're telling me that in 2022, this was a normal house. This was a normal house. So this person bought the home and just changed it. So here's the home what it looked like in 2022. It just looked like a normal home. Let me see if I can get here. It won't. Okay, it's a normal home in 2022. Let me back up here. We're gonna zoom out. We're gonna go back to layers. Look at this home now. This home is wild. So you have all these homes here with these white roofs. And then once you go here, the home is absolutely insane with the color. So look at the driveway. Look at the home. I believe the actual home itself is like pink or purple, magenta. I don't know what you call it. But the home just doesn't fit with this neighborhood. So when you come out of this neighborhood, you are have sensory overload. And again, people can do whatever they want with their homes. It's just something to be aware of. Do you want your neighbor doing this? Because there's always going to be somebody, people say nobody's going to be extreme until they are. And in 2022, it was perfectly normal. 2024, this house is wild. Again, nothing wrong with the house. They have an interesting, unique design that they want to follow. That's on them. But they make a choice. And a lot of HOAs here, sometimes, again, that's why it's important to know what you're buying into. A lot of the HOAs will cover like some part of your utilities. They cover, your pool and other things. That's why it may be beneficial for you to be in an HOA. You may enjoy living in one of these HOA environments. Again, the HOA in here keeps everything clean, neat, organized. The HOA here, there is none. So people can do whatever they want. A lot of these neighborhoods are well maintained. Um, this place has an HOA that keeps everything maintained and, orderly, but you don't get like a big community event or community access to things like you would in Lotus Palm, Lotus Edge, or even a few other neighborhoods as well. So it's just something to be aware of that, your HOAs can protect you if you're worried about your neighbor just making decisions. So now you made this far and you probably are wondering like, what did I give one of my clients to prevent them, not prevent them, but you're probably at this point you're wondering like what did my client see to make them not buy a home in Boca Raton? So they were interested in this home out there in West Boca and they wanted to know, did I know anything about the area? And I was like, um yeah, I know a little about the area. I went over in a little details and then I sent them this link because, I can't give legally certain things to people just because of legal reasons. I can't tell you everything, but I can guide you to get the information. And I'm going to put a link to it in the description below. So in the state of Florida, you can search up any address in any neighborhood for the most part in Florida and it will tell you if there's any sex offenders living directly next to you or within 5 miles. And I think this is a very helpful tool that most people don't know about. So before you purchase a home, especially if you have kids, you might want to do research if there's any sex offenders that live directly next door. And I want to go over very briefly. All right, and I want to go over very briefly of what these look like. So what you would do, you'll take the address that you're interested in buying, put in that address into this website that's going to be down below, and you're going to put 5 miles out. And there's different colored houses that and tints that you might want to be a little bit more aware about because you're probably like, what are all these? And there's no like clear description sometimes. So if you put in your home, right? Again, this is the actual screenshot from the state of Florida of what you have access to. So it's not me pulling anything. It's not real, a real street or anything. I just want you to be aware of and see how this works. So you would put in an address. It'll put a big white little glob that will say home, right? Like say if you lived here, it'll say H for home, and it'll be like this white little pin. And then what you'll see next to it would be these houses. Now, the blue house means that there is a sex offender who currently lives there. And what you can do, you can actually highlight on it. It will show you their picture, their name, and then when you go down the screen, it's going to tell you exactly what they did and when. This can be helpful for a few reasons. If it's like a local or a recent event, that somebody did something and it may affect your decision to buy a house, you can see exactly what they did. But the blue is not the worst. The worst is probably the red one. So these red homes, this means that there is a predator, not offender, but a predator, somebody who kind of repeated offender or goes after people. And this may change your decision. Say if this person went after somebody younger than 12, it'll say like, did, this to younger than a 12-year-old. This may change your reason of purchasing a home. And nobody's probably going to disclose this to you. The listing agent is not going to disclose this to you. It's not legally liable for somebody to disclose this to you, but it's something that you should be aware of if you're looking to relocate down here and you're wondering like what is around my kids. This is a great tool to use. Again, the predators can be a little bit more of a serious situation. And then you have these purple houses. If you see here, this purple, it means there's multiple sex offenders or predators living in one house. And there are parts of South Florida that you have a house that has 7 people living in there. And I'm like, how are they all living in this house? And I'm like, just blown away that they're all living in one house together. Then you have these tents, and the tents them alone, those means that their people are sex offenders and they're moving in and out or they're transient. And these are something to be aware of. Also, these are the ones that are known. And what can be scarier is that the ones that are unknown. Now, these maps are not fully updated. Sometimes people have already moved out, the neighbor is no longer there, or there's a new neighbor who is possibly a sex offender who moves in, and you may not know if this map is updated or not, but it can definitely affect your decision on buying a home. And it's something to know about to do your proper research. You should know definitely your flood zones, school zones. I can't help you talk about schools. School zones are always changing. I can't tell you if it's a good school, bad school, but you can definitely do your research online, go to Reddit, ask people in the neighborhood, see if they like the school. And I can't tell you directly what somebody did next to you, but I can give you the resource. Any good agent will tell you if you're working with an agent who did not provide you this information, it's something to be, concerned about because this is information for you and your family. I think one of the biggest things that you can do when you're purchasing a home is having confidence in your neighborhood, confidence, feeling secure in your environment, and you don't want to close on a home and you realize that you're in an area where you don't feel like it's a place for you. And this is a great resource for a lot of families that don't, for some odd reason, I'm running into a lot of people who don't even know about this function or feature, and it could definitely help them. Because again, you don't want to end up in an area or not having somebody on your side who knows what they're doing, trying to help you navigate, move into a new area. So if you're looking to move to Boca Raton, just reach out to us. We can definitely help make the move easier for you. And trying to find that place that you actually enjoy living in, somewhere, a place that you would feel comfortable, a place where you would enjoy, and that would be something we can help you with. So reach out. If you don't reach out, we can't help you. Trying to find the perfect place for you. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I wish I had a video like this that when I first started looking to move here to South Florida and Boca Raton to try to know more about the area because I was end up looking in areas that once we arrived here, we obviously knew that we weren't going to actually live here, nor would we want to live here. So every area is so different. So you have any questions about before you move here, feel free to send me a text. I think overall, the information that I provided today will give you a better understanding about the Boca Raton area, what to look out for. You now know a little bit more about the area, the major streets. You know about flood zones. You're going to be doing a lot of research on school zones if you're looking for school zones. I can't legally tell you what school zone you want your kids to be in. You would have to do that yourself. I can't legally tell you about crime, demographics of certain neighborhoods, but I can provide you the information for you to do your research. I don't know why so many people don't know about, the lookup so you can see about who's living in your neighborhood to protect yourself, to protect your family. If you're working with somebody who's not providing you this, it's something to be alarmed about. You need somebody who's willing to help you. And that's what we're here. This is why I make this YouTube channel to help people relocate down here to South Florida. Whatever city you need help in, if I don't work in that area, I can refer you to an agent that works that part of Florida. So reach out to me before you consider looking down here so I can guide you, like help guide you, put you in the areas that you may have, put you in the areas that you may be a better fit for and trying to find you that great location for you and your family before you move down here to South Florida. So if you want to see more videos like this, please click on the video here, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.